we extend a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Eric Falt, the director of the UNESCO. He's the representative over here in India. And besides India, he's also taking care of a couple of countries in South Asia as well. As and when we meet him, we discuss with him, there's a lot of vision which travels from him, and he gives the new dimension. And I must, convey my deep thanks to him right on my table over here. He had been very kind. I have kept, yes, the bag is right over here. It's a UNESCO bag. I must endorse. This was given to him when I had gone to invite him, and he gave me all the reports of the UNESCO, which are right here on my table. And I'm finding a time to go through that. And there's a beautiful report which has come. During the deliberations, I also learned from him that he is very keen how artificial intelligence to be brought in education ecosystem. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, I request Mr. Eric Falt, the director of the UNESCO, to kindly take on his inaugural address for the school education, for the school teachers, for the school youth, for the school counselors, and everybody whosoever is in education vertical, including our technocrats, wherever they are. And all of us, let's pick up the best from Mr. Eric Falt. Hearty welcome. Pleasure to have you. In India, we all are celebrating today. We are celebrating Makar Sankranti. I was just trying to take the speaker view, but then your another person who has joined, he comes over there. Please go ahead, Mr. Eric Falt.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gulshan, for giving me the opportunity to address all of you on the occasion of the 28th Annual Convention of the Indian Chamber for Service Industry. As I understand, you have among the audience this afternoon, or today rather, because as you pointed out, there are people based in different places. We have school principals, headmasters, teachers, and more generally, educators. And I know that you are all too painfully aware of the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on education systems worldwide. We have seen how lockdowns and restrictions on movement have led to the closure of schools and learning facilities, and the resulting learning losses, which are widening the already existing gaps in education access, equity, and quality. And again, this is something that we have seen in every country of the world. At the same time, as Albert Einstein, the well-known physicist and founder of the theory of relativity, once said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." And that's really what I want to talk about today, because the theme for today's event that you have chosen, making education relevant for youth, teachers, and education, is really central to our response to ensure that losses from the pandemic are not going to make a permanent impact on students and learners, and instead that it will actually provide opportunities to build more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable education systems. The shift that we have seen, which is largely a shift to online modes of learning, while ensuring, of course, that learning continues, has, we know, excluded many students, particularly girls and students with disabilities, because they have less access, as we know, to these technologies. The loss of institutional support has also impacted teachers who have been left largely unprepared to teach and manage online learning, often due to the lack of professional training, preparation, and support. For the most part, when all of them were trained, online learning barely existed, except for the ones who were taught more recently how to become teachers and educators. And this is one of the worrying developments that we have outlined in our UNESCO New Delhi 2021 State of the Education Report for India, that we entitled No Teacher, No Class, which was published only last October. This is a report that provides a profile of the nearly 9.7 million teaching workforce in the country, and which aims to support India's teacher development efforts. The report proposes a number of recommendations to tackle the challenges related to improving teaching routines and altogether professional development. What we know is that one clear result of the pandemic, in fact, is that we are faced today with, I would say, a major choice. Either we transform our education systems as envisioned in Sustainable Development Goal 4 to face the challenges that the future will bring, or we face a monumental risk to our ways of life. Obviously, UNESCO advocates for the former. And as such, we believe that we must be forward-thinking in shaping education systems and in preparing students to face challenges intelligently and responsibly. While doing so, and at this point, I really think it's important that I acknowledge the exceptional achievement of the government of India in expanding access to education across the country. We have over 15 lakh teachers in India, which are catering to the needs of millions of students. And the efforts of the government have clearly led to a marked increase in the gross enrollment ratio, improvements to the gender parity index. I don't know if you followed this particular index, but I think it's important to note that in 2012, it stood at 0.97. That's, again, the gender parity index. And it has gone to 1.04 in 2019-20. This is one of the most important evolutions. We've seen also expanding access to key infrastructure, such as latrine facilities, electricity, computers, and the internet. Again, not everything is perfect, far from it, but it's really important to underline the incredible progress that has taken place in the last few years. We know that also the policy initiatives undertaken by the government through the implementation of the groundbreaking 2020 National Education Policy that emphasizes, among others, reforms in school curricula and focus on multidisciplinary education are also resounding evidence of India's commitment to affirming education as a lifelong process. Clearly, however, in India, just like anywhere else, none of us should rest on our laurels, and there's much that remains to be done to ensure our preparedness for any potential future disruptions to our education systems. We were all taken by surprise by the COVID to some extent, because some experts have in the past predicted the possibility of such pandemic, but now we must be better prepared. And for UNESCO, the end goal cannot simply be expanding access to education. The priority is to also focus on the quality of education that is made available to students, learners, and youth in general, as was highlighted in the report that was recently launched at UNESCO headquarters in Paris, which is entitled The Futures of Education, Reimagining Our Futures Together, and proposes a new social contract for education. For those of you who may not be familiar with this document, I invite you to consult it online, just like I invite you to please consult our State of the Education reports for India, including, of course, the last one, as I mentioned, focusing on teachers. Today, students can no longer be passive recipients of the education system, neither in India nor elsewhere. Instead, a key output of our efforts to transform education must be to ensure that students and teachers are, I would say, creators capable of designing, using, and transforming old and new knowledge and skills which will not only benefit them in future job markets, but also will prepare them to address future challenges. Here, I want to mention one very practical example, which is the issue of climate change, one of the defining issues of our time. Solutions proposed must focus not only on scientific teaching, we hear a lot about that, but should also reflect on the whole spectrum of competencies from the sciences to the humanities. And every student everywhere should be better aware of the challenges posed by climate change. In general, I think that any new curriculum would also need to adopt and adapt to new methods of teaching. I've already spoken about it, but it is granted that teaching and learning practices now must adapt to newer digital modes of education. And this is going to keep on evolving. We've only seen just a little beginning of this evolution, and we must ensure that the digital revolution does not leave anyone behind. This is going to remain a challenge as technology continues to evolve, as, for instance, artificial intelligence comes into use in education. By the way, this is the subject of our next State of the Education report. At UNESCO, we resolutely believe that teachers must be at the center of education initiatives. While their role in sustaining learning during the pandemic have been without exception universally applauded, the benefits derived may have come also at great personal cost, something which is not discussed very much. And to ensure that this does not happen again, teachers must be provided with more support, simply. They must be provided with the appropriate training, knowledge, and resources to be able to manage their jobs, to advance their careers also, and most importantly, to deliver on the promise of transformative education. When I mention transformative education, I want to say here at the same time that the onus of transformative change cannot simply be placed on the teachers themselves. We really must all work together as a society towards a better future for students. This must involve better, and again, this is something valid around the world, local leaders, elders, industry, authorities, communities, families. All of them are key agents in shaping the futures of education. In this respect, UNESCO has taken a multi-pronged approach to maintain learning during the pandemic, supporting the recovery of education systems, as well as working with all of the member states of our organization on the future of education. At the global level, we have launched the Global Education Coalition, which is composed of partners in government, NGOs and private companies. Of course, fellow UN agencies as well are involved, with the aim to protect the right to education and to support countries to scale up their distance learning practices while working with them to prepare for the post-pandemic world, or what, yes, many of us are calling the new normal. We've worked with the support of our friends and colleagues at UNICEF, but also with Generation Unlimited and the Global Education Coalition. In this regard, perhaps I should also mention that we focused our efforts a lot on the 9 high population countries, which includes the likes of Brazil, China, Egypt, Indonesia, and of course, India. Here in India, we've tried to be at the forefront of several initiatives on transformational change. I've already mentioned that our upcoming report in 2022, the State of the Education report for India, will focus on artificial intelligence in education. We hope that it will serve as an important policy improvement tool and provide recommendations on a range of critical policy issues at the intersection of AI and education. This is really a new topic which needs to be better studied. That's why we're focusing on this. We will include issues related to ethical and human-centered use of AI in education. Finally, to transform, we must look at a transformation of gender relations through education in India, like everywhere else around the world, in particular for girls. In this regard, we have been working with a range of partners in government, but also with the private sector. And here I want to mention our partnership with the Procter & Gamble to develop curriculum modules on menstrual health and hygiene management and puberty education to ensure that scientifically verified and accurate information is made available to all girls. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that obviously, and I know this is a belief shared by all of you, that education is key to ensuring that we as human beings collectively, that we as a global society are able to address the challenges and seize opportunities. This is perhaps the main word that I want to propose to you today: opportunities presented in the future. Our common endeavor must be to ensure that students and teachers are able to not only understand, but also actively participate in shaping the world that we all want. The time is ripe for a new social contract for education to ensure, as we at UNESCO say, that learning never stops. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best of health.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Falt. You're always very inspirational to all of us. And you would be so very happy to know that this journey we started 28 years back, 1994. And from that time, we have come a long way. And people are here from Leh and Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand, and Delhi, as well as UP. And the center of the entire fulcrum is Chandigarh. That is the hub, the city beautiful. 13th to 16th of April, 13th to 16th of April, like yesterday was the Happy Lohri festival of Northern India. 13th April is a Baisakhi festival. And that is the time we are celebrating North India Film Festival at Chandigarh, where education for the children, somewhere like you're bringing artificial intelligence in education, I think somewhere we would make a humble request to you, two more components which we have to bring very closely and in a very innovative way. That is something very important, and that is wellness and entertainment should also be taken on a board with us. Our chamber is doing a lot of research on that, and children, if they can get glued to mobile phone for the games for that long, if you bring entertainment, children would be extremely, extremely happy, the retentivity and all that. And that is what the survey which we have carried out for the young children in this part. Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing your most valuable time. Thank you for being with us. And you have always been very supportive. And you can count on us in your artificial intelligence in education. ICSI is on board with you. Technology I love. Technology we love. And technology is future. We all got to adopt the best possible way. Our greetings to your family and our greetings to everybody at your end. Thank you very much for being a part of today's this particular session. Thanks for coming and thanks for inaugurating. Thank you. Very kind of you. Wish you a great evening and a great days ahead.